All right, let's dive right in. The H-1B visa, which has always been America's main gateway for skilled talent from around the world, is getting completely turned on its head. A massive, sudden transformation is happening, and if you're in tech, science, or really any innovative field, the way we hire the best and brightest is about to change in a really big way.
And it all comes down to this one number, $100,000. Yeah, you heard that right. A new presidential proclamation just dropped a mandatory $100,000 fee for a lot of new H-1B petitions. And let's be clear, this is not some small tweak. This is a fundamental, ground-shaking shift in how the U.S. competes for global talent.
So, first up, the $100,000 H-1B fee. Let's break down what this is, why it's happening, and who's actually going to have to pay up. So you're probably asking, what's the official reason for such a drastic move? Well, according to the White House, the whole point is to stop the program from being, and I'm quoting here, deliberately exploited. The argument is that some companies aren't using the H-1B to supplement the American workforce with unique skills, but to straight up replace U.S. workers with foreign labor that costs them less.
And to back this up, the administration is pointing to data that shows a really high concentration of visas. For instance, in 2024, a full 71% of all approved H-1B beneficiaries were workers from India. And that's a statistic they're using as direct context for these new reforms.
Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. Who actually has to pay this? Well, the fee specifically targets new petitions for workers who are currently outside the U.S. It's a one-time thing. Now, what's really important is who it does not apply to. We're talking renewals, extensions, or transfers for people who are already here. There's also mention of a national interest waiver, but, the details on what that actually means are still a little fuzzy.
And just to really get a sense of how big this change is, just look at the cost. Before, the total fees for an H-1B were, a few $1,000s. Now, with this new proclamation fee, that cost skyrockets to over $100,000. That is an absolutely seismic shift in the financial calculation for hiring someone from abroad. So in part 2, let's talk about the winners and losers. A policy change this huge is bound to create some serious ripple effects. So let's see who might benefit and who could really get hurt by this.
Right, so the impact here is not going to be even, not at all. For the giant big tech companies that are already throwing around $100 million compensation packages for top AI talent, this new fee is basically a rounding error. They can just shrug it off. But for startups, the CEO of Y Combinator, Gary Tan, warns it will, quote, kneecap them. For a small company, that cost is it's potentially impossible. And we're already seeing the chills set in. For the upcoming fiscal year, USCIS reported that H-1B registrations dropped by 27%. That's a huge dip, and it's being widely chalked up to employers getting nervous, anticipating this massive new fee, and just the general uncertainty around the whole program.
Now, here's the real risk. It isn't that companies will stop hiring global talent. It's that they'll just stop hiring them in America. Research from Wharton is pretty clear on this. When it gets harder to get an H-1B, U.S. multinational companies just shift those jobs abroad. For the really big global firms, it's almost a one-to-one trade. For every visa rejection here, a new hire pops up in another country.
Gary Tan really puts it bluntly. He calls this new fee a massive gift to every overseas tech hub. He's basically saying that the amazing talent that would have been building companies in American cities will now be building them in places like Vancouver or Toronto instead. Okay, part 3, reforming the lottery. Because this huge fee is only one piece of the puzzle. The entire lottery system, how we even pick people, is getting a massive overhaul. So let's look at how the selection process itself is changing. So the old system was what you'd call employer-centric. What that meant was one person with, say, 10 job offers could have 10 different entries in the lottery. The new system is beneficiary-centric. Now, each person only gets entered once. It doesn't matter if one company wants to hire you or 100 do. The whole idea is to level the playing field and make the selection process feel a lot more fair to individuals. And there's another major proposal on the table, a wage-based lottery. The idea here is really simple. The higher the salary you're offered, the better your odds. A company offering a top-tier level 4 wage gets 4 entries into the lottery for that person. An entry-level level 1 wage, you get just 1. It's a system designed, very explicitly, to prioritize the highest paying and presumably highest skilled roles. All right, our last section, the global talent race. Look, These changes are not happening in a vacuum. They're landing right in the middle of this incredibly intense global competition for talent, especially in what might be the defining field of our time, artificial intelligence.
You know, as Greg Morissette, the dean of Cornell Tech, put it, the U.S. leads in tech innovation because it has attracted the very best talent from around the world. That simple idea has been the absolute bedrock of American tech leadership for decades.
Which, of course, leaves us with this final, really provocative question. In the middle of what everyone is calling an AI arms race, a technological competition that could literally define the next century, are these new policies essentially telling the world's best and brightest builders to just go build the future somewhere else?